There are new developments almost every day in the Lindsay Clancy trial, and some of the evidence being discussed in court has raised questions about the timeline that we thought we understood. So let's go through what we actually know. And just to be clear, this video is about the evidence and the questions surrounding it, not claiming that any specific individual committed these murders. On January 24, 2023, Patrick Clancy left his Duxbury home at approximately 5:15 p.m. According to the established timeline, Lindsay had asked him to pick up medication for one of the children and get takeout from 3V. At 5:32 p.m., surveillance footage shows Patrick inside CVS. He called Lindsay. She didn't answer. About a minute later, Lindsay called him back. That call lasted approximately 14 seconds, and Patrick testified that the conversation seemed normal, although he later said she sounded like she might have been in the middle of something. At approximately 5:54 p.m., surveillance shows Patrick arriving at 3V. He picked up the food and left. Then, around 6:09 p.m., Patrick returned home. He testified that the house was unusually quiet. He called Lindsay, but she didn't answer. He reportedly opened the basement door and called down, "No answer." He went upstairs and found the bedroom door locked. Inside, he saw blood and an open window. He went outside and found Lindsay on the ground. According to Patrick, he asked what happened, and Lindsay told him she had tried to kill herself. He then asked where the children were. She told him they were in the basement. At approximately 6:11 p.m., Patrick called 911. While still on the phone with the dispatcher, he went inside to look for the children. He found Cora, Dawson, and Callan in the basement, each with an exercise band around or near their necks. Cora and Dawson died that night. Callan was transported to Boston Children's Hospital and remained alive for 3 days before dying on January 27th. And this is where the case gets complicated, because during the trial, the defense has raised questions about several pieces of evidence. One of them is a work email. A message was sent from Patrick's account at approximately 5:24 p.m. during the period when he said he was away from the house. Patrick was questioned about whether the email came from his laptop or his phone, and he couldn't definitively remember. That does not prove he was home, but it does create a question about the exact timeline and which device was used to send the message. Then there is the Apple Watch. During testimony, the defense brought attention to Lindsay's Apple Watch, which was found inside a nightstand drawer along with medications. The important distinction here is that it wasn't simply ignored forever. It apparently wasn't collected during the initial search, but it was later found and turned over to investigators. The defense has questioned why a device capable of recording movement and other information wasn't recovered during that initial search. Then there is the fingerprint evidence. A Massachusetts state police trooper testified that there were no usable fingerprints on the knife or the exercise bands that could be compared to known prints. But that doesn't mean there were literally no impressions at all. There were friction ridge impressions, but not enough usable detail for identification. And the DNA evidence is even more complicated. A recent stipulation established that DNA from all 5 members of the family, Lindsay, Patrick, Cora, Dawson, and Callan, was found on the blue exercise band. So, Patrick's DNA being present on an exercise band isn't, by itself, evidence that he used it to kill anyone. And Lindsay's DNA being present doesn't independently establish exactly how or when she handled it either. Then there's the blood evidence. Forensic testimony established bloodstaining throughout portions of the bedroom, including the floor, nightstand, mirror, and windowsill. A bloody object also made contact with the exterior shingles. But the evidence does not establish from the bloodstains alone that someone was hanging from the window or that Lindsay was pushed. There's also the question of Lindsay's temperature. Her core temperature was reportedly around 82 degrees when she arrived at Brigham and Women's Hospital. That is certainly an unusual detail, but it is important not to turn that number into something the evidence doesn't actually establish. The 82-degree measurement was taken at the hospital. It does not, by itself, prove that Lindsay had been outside for hours. And then there's Patrick himself. He has since divorced Lindsay, remarried, and moved to New York. Some people have found the speed of those life changes suspicious, but someone's decision to eventually rebuild their life after an unimaginable tragedy is not, by itself, evidence that they committed a crime. And there's another major point that often gets lost in the online discussion. Lindsay's defense is not simply arguing that she didn't kill the children. Her attorneys have acknowledged that she killed them. The central question at trial is whether Lindsay was criminally responsible for what she did, with her defense arguing that severe postpartum mental illness and psychosis affected her ability to understand or control her actions. But new testimony from Lindsay's psychiatrist states she showed no signs of psychosis in the weeks leading up to the incident. So where does that leave us? We have a documented timeline placing Patrick on surveillance footage away from the home during much of the critical period. We have a 5:24 p.m. email that raises a question about which device he used. We have an Apple Watch that wasn't collected during the initial search. We have no usable fingerprints from the knife or exercise bands. We have complex DNA evidence involving all 5 family members. And we have testimony and forensic evidence surrounding Lindsay's injuries and the scene outside the bedroom window. So, I'm going to leave this one to you. After everything we've learned in court so far, does the evidence make you question the original timeline? Or do you think the evidence still points overwhelmingly toward Lindsay? What do you think happened?